expand the room for me, the audience members? All right, so good morning, everyone. So this morning I am actually going to talk about red velvet cake. So it's actually one of my absolute favorite desserts, although I find that it's something that is consistently overlooked in the dessert realm. So I wanted to just give you a little bit more information on it and maybe bring up your perspective of red velvet cake. So first off, what is it? Red velvet cake has actually been around since the 1800s, so people actually think that it's a somewhat newer cake, but it gets its name of velvet from the way that it's actually made. So the use of the almond flour, cornstarch, and cocoa actually makes it a silkier consistency because it's actually going in and thinning the protein that's in the flour. So that makes it a velvet cake is the name. So the other great thing about that is that it's more than just a chocolate, or it's more than just a vanilla cake in my eyes. So based off of, or according to Culture Trip, it actually became a popular item in Texas and Midwest fairs because it actually was a symbol of bloodshed for slavery during the Civil War. And it's used in Texas you actually see it a lot for Juneteenth, where we're actually going in and celebrating emancipation parties and things like that. Red is the symbol of that. So red lemonade, red velvet cake. So it's more than just a cupcake. It's more than just a cake. It's a symbol of something. So red velvet cake actually became somewhat not popular. Again, it was brought back in the astounded in the 1800s, but in the 1940s or 1930s, they actually began selling this inside of the Waldorf Astoria, and it became a specialty cake inside of the Eaton department store in Toronto, which are both very popular chains, of course. Adams Extract Company was also a big proponent of the red velvet cake. In the 1940s, James Adam and his wife actually visited a Waldorf and decided that they were going to go in and create, next to all of their vanilla extracts in department stores and grocery stores, a recipe card for red velvet cake, for the cake itself and for the icing that went on top. It actually gets its color not necessarily just from the dye. Nowadays, Adam's cake actually made that very popular in creating a red dye to put in this. But it gets its color from a chemical reaction between the cocoa and acid inside of the cake. So it was red before the dye. And it actually was also known as devil's cake before. And it can also get its red color from brown sugar, which is also called red sugar. Yeah, good fun fact. The lack of popularity for red velvet cake has actually spanned a couple of ways. So one of them is being that the icing on top wasn't always the most popular thing. It was just a mixture of butter and cream cheese. So when butter and sugar. So when cream cheese actually became the topping of this cake, it helped to gain more in popularity. James Beard in 1972 actually was quoted saying that red velvet cake was bland and uninteresting. And it also didn't get any appearances in most cookbooks between 1980 and 1990 because of its lack of popularity. Joy Cooking's Irma Rombauer actually called it generally popular, but not with me in her cookbook when she stated it. However, red velvet cake actually came back, and it came back with a vengeance. In 1989, it was a somewhat starring role in the Armadillo Groom's Cake that actually got a big ovation in that movie. It was also given, again, back because of its roots. Juneteenth, the symbolism of bloodshed, became very popular post 9/11, because this cake is actually something that is used, or that symbolizes that solace. It was also something that became very adaptable. So not only is this something that is popular, but it can be altered. So there are people that make this with beets, that make it in other ways. But however, in conclusion, I would like to just say that, again, this is more than just a white cake. It's candles, the adult beverages, cupcakes, protein powders. It's a classic that's often lost, but it deserves a whole lot more. So it's more than a gimmick. It went from a gimmick to an American classic. So that is all.
Thank you.
Cake.
Nicely done.
I actually think that was my worst speech.